He is a trained lawyer. He works part-time as a court bailiff, carrying out orders that other people hand down. He is the youngest man ever to referee a European Championship final. 2 years ago, a world body that keeps football records voted him the best referee on the planet. And tonight, Francois Letexier is reported to be under formal review by FIFA. He has reportedly wiped himself off social media, and an entire country is demanding that he be sent home from this World Cup. So how does the finest referee in the world lose all of that in 90 minutes? Nobody was paying attention to Francois Letexier when the team sheets went out. That was the point of him. He is 37 years old. He comes from a small town in Brittany, in the west of France. He took charge of his first top-flight match in France in 2016, and he had a FIFA badge a year later. Since then, he has refereed a European Championship final, a European Super Cup, a European Club final in Istanbul, and a match at the Olympic Games. In 2024, the International Federation of Football History and Statistics named him the best referee in the world. He is the referee you appoint when you do not want the referee to be the story. So FIFA gave him Argentina against Egypt, round of 16, Atlanta Stadium, Tuesday, the 7th of July. The reigning world champions, with Lionel Messi, against a nation that had never won a knockout match at a World Cup until this tournament. It was his third game of the summer. FIFA gave him a crew of officials, all of them from Europe. And for 15 minutes, it was a normal football match. Then Yasser Ibrahim rose at a set piece and headed Egypt in front. Then Messi stepped up for a penalty and the Egyptian goalkeeper saved it. Then he saved from Mac Allister, then he saved from Alvarez. By the time the second half was rolling, the greatest team in the world were 1 goal down and shooting at a wall. And that is when the paperwork started. 58th minute, Egypt break. Mohamed Salah collects the ball with space in front of him and slides a pass through for Mostafa Zico. Zico lifts it over the Argentina goalkeeper. 2-0. The Egyptian bench empties. In Cairo, in Alexandria, in Aswan, people are on their feet. But the video assistant referee was not watching the goal. He was watching something else. Roughly 20 seconds earlier, at the other end of the pitch, an Egyptian midfielder named Marwan Attia had come together with the Argentina defender Lisandro Martinez. Attia had a hand on the shirt. Then his boot came down on Martinez's foot. Letexier was a long way from it. He saw the challenge and he let the game run. Now he was being called to a screen on the touchline to look at it again. He watched it. He walked back onto the field, and he took the goal away. Egypt were still 1-0 up. Everything after that came out of that moment. 9 minutes later, Zico scored again, and this time it counted. 2-0, for real. Egypt were closing in on their first World Cup quarterfinal. Argentina were flat on the floor, and then they were not. Christian Romero headed one back on 79. Messi smashed in the equalizer on 83. And in the second minute of stoppage time, with Egypt hanging on by their fingernails, Enzo Fernandez ran into the box and headed the winner. 3-2, Egypt were out. But this is where it stops being a football match and starts being a case file. Because in the build-up to that winning goal, 2 things happened that Egypt now put in writing to FIFA. The first came earlier, in the last minutes. Hamdi Fathi went down in the Argentina penalty area after Alexis Mac Allister appeared to pull his shirt. No penalty, no review. The second came seconds before the goal itself. Mohamed Salah, trying to carry the ball into the Argentina box, came together with Julian Alvarez and went down face first onto the turf. Again, the referee waved it away, and again the video room stayed silent. Argentina took the ball off him, broke the length of the pitch, and won the game with it. So there is the sequence. A goal taken away for a foul 20 seconds and a full pitch away, and 2 penalty appeals in the final minutes that never reached the screen at all. Egypt's head coach, Hossam Hassan, did not wait to calm down. He told reporters his team had been treated unfairly and that they had suffered injustice. He suggested somebody wanted the world champions to stay in the competition. Mostafa Zico went further and said the tournament was rigged. Letexier showed a red card to a member of Egypt's staff in the 94th minute. At one point, Hassan crossed his arms above his head into an X shape, which is FIFA's own signal for coaches and players to report discrimination during a match. He was shown a yellow card. Neither he nor his federation has explained publicly what he meant, and FIFA has not commented on it. That is the noise. Now here is the paper. On Wednesday, the Egyptian Football Association filed a formal complaint with FIFA. It was signed off by the federation's president, Hani Abo Rida. Read what it really asks for. because it is not a polite request for an answer. The federation asked FIFA to look into Letexier over what it called serious refereeing mistakes and double standards. It said the check must cover the whole team of officials, including the men in the video room, over what it called blatant errors and a refusal to look at the footage again. And it demanded that the referee and his whole crew be thrown out of the rest of the World Cup. Egypt did not ask FIFA to take more care next time. Egypt asked FIFA to fire the referee mid-tournament and send him home. FIFA confirmed it had received the complaint. And if that were the only problem, FIFA might have ridden it out. But this complaint did not land on a clean desk. Days before Egypt filed anything, an American forward named Folarin Balogun had his one-match ban put on hold, and he was free to play in the biggest match the United States had faced in years. What made that a story was not the decision. It was that the President of the United States had complained about the red card directly to the President of FIFA and said so out loud. So when Hossam Hassan stood in Atlanta and suggested that somebody wanted the world champions kept in the tournament, he was not shouting into empty air. He was pointing at a pattern this World Cup had already set. So that is the desk Egypt's complaint landed on. And that is where the second half of this story begins, because a complaint is only as powerful as the rule book it lands on. The French sports paper L'Équipe reported it before FIFA said anything. That report says FIFA will go through Letexier's decisions from that night before it decides whether he works again at this tournament. The referee's own country broke the story that his World Cup might be over. And the same report carries a second line, one that is colder than the first. L'Équipe reported that FIFA is unlikely to remove him just because Egypt asked. So the file gets opened, the tape gets watched, and the country that demanded it gets told nothing. Because FIFA has said nothing. It has not named a panel, it has not set a deadline, and it has never promised that anyone outside the building will hear the outcome. The only thing FIFA has put its name to is a receipt. Pay attention to this next detail, because it explains everything. FIFA reviews every referee after every match at this World Cup. The men FIFA sends to watch each game file their notes. The audio between the referee and the video room gets pulled and stored. The footage gets watched again, frame by frame. That machine ran on the group games nobody remembers. It ran on this one too, which means the file on Francois Letexier already exists. It has existed since Tuesday night. And no version of that file gets shown to the public. FIFA does not publish them. So here is where the case actually stands. The evidence against the referee is held by the body that employs the referee and judged by the body that appointed him, behind a door nobody outside FIFA has ever walked through. Egypt is not allowed to see it. Neither are you. Read that again. Meanwhile, the man who lost the match has stopped watching the tournament. Hossam Hassan said he would not sit through another game of this World Cup. He coached his country to within 11 minutes of a quarterfinal. He will watch the rest of this tournament on a plane home, or not at all. And this is the part where it stopped being funny. And this next part is the one that even Egypt's own fans cannot argue their way around. Under FIFA's own rules, a national federation cannot veto a referee. Appointments belong to the FIFA Referees Committee and to nobody else. Egypt can file, Egypt can demand, Egypt cannot decide. So the strongest line in that complaint, the one asking for Letexier to be thrown out, is the one line FIFA does not have to answer at all. And none of this is new. In 2002, Italy went out of a World Cup in the round of 16 to South Korea and spent the next 20 years talking about the Ecuadorian referee who took charge of it. Nothing was ever proven. Nothing was ever undone. The result stands in the record books to this day. A country's rage against a referee has always been worth about that much. It is loud, it comes from the heart, and it changes not one thing about the scoreline. But Egypt is not chasing the scoreline. Read the Federation's own words again. It says it cannot stay silent. It is not asking for the match back. It is asking for the referee and for the file, and that is what makes this one different. If you want this World Cup covered the way it really happens, with real reporting kept apart from rumor and the rulebook read line by line, subscribe and stay with me. I take every flashpoint of this tournament apart while it is still moving, and there are plenty left. Now, back to the file. While Egypt were writing to FIFA, FIFA was already writing back to the world. On Thursday, Pierluigi Collina, the most famous referee who ever lived, and now FIFA's chief refereeing officer, gave his answer. He gave it on FIFA's own website, which tells you how carefully it was staged. He said criticism of referees is part of football. Then he said unfounded allegations have no place in the sport. Nobody can question the integrity of FIFA's officials, he said, and when people do, it can lead to threats against them and their families. Then he said the line that will follow this tournament around. Nobody can claim FIFA refereeing is influenced by anyone, Kalina said. Not even, he added, by the president of FIFA. Sit with that. FIFA's refereeing chief offered up a denial nobody asked for, saying Gianni Infantino cannot sway referees, answering a complaint from a country that never once named Infantino. And no, that is not me putting words in his mouth, that is what he chose to say. Kalina also defended both decisions. On the goal he wiped out, he said the video officials were right to spot Atia treading on the foot of Lisandro Martinez during what FIFA calls the attacking possession phase. Then he explained the rule, and the rule is the whole ballgame. After every goal, the video officials check the phase of play that led to it. If they find a foul in there, they call the referee to the screen. And there is no limit on how far from goal that foul can be, or how many seconds earlier it happened. A foul is a foul, Kalina said. On Salah going down before the winner, Kalina said the referee and the video officials judged it to be normal football contact. He drew the line himself. Stepping on a foot is a foul. Touching the ball first and then making contact is not. So there is FIFA's case. The whole of it rests on 4 words. A foul is a foul. Except the people picking that case apart are not Egyptian. Rob Green, the former England keeper, was working the match for an American network. He said the incident was a full length of the pitch away and questioned whether the video officials should have been reviewing it at all. Mark Clattenburg, a former FIFA referee working as a rules analyst for the same network, said he did not believe it was a foul and did not believe the video officials should have stepped in. His reason was simple. Referees at this tournament had been letting far heavier contact go for weeks. Jamie Carragher put it in words any league football fan understands. In the Premier League, in Spain, in Italy, he said, that goal stands even after a review. And then there is Fernando Guerrero. He is a former Mexican referee, and he was on FIFA's video team at the last World Cup, including for the final. He looked at the same footage and said Argentina had 3 chances to win the ball back before Zico scored. If that is right, the attacking phase was over. And if the phase was over, the foul was outside the reach of the video officials, and the goal should have stood. The refereeing experts who backed the call never said it was right. They said it was allowed. They said the foul was real, the move never stopped, and the rules were followed. One of them, backing the call live on air, said the video review took a magical moment away from Egypt, and that most of the time the system takes away something fun. Nobody has offered a stronger defense than that. Not that the goal deserved to be wiped out, only that the rules allowed it. And that split is the story. This is not a knocked-out country shouting at a screen. This is a former FIFA video official, a former FIFA referee, and a row of neutral pundits, all landing on the same word: inconsistent. A rule that gets applied one way tonight and another way tomorrow is not really a rule. It is a decision made by a person and dressed up as a rule afterward. Which brings us back to the man himself. Letexier has said nothing. Referees at World Cups do not give interviews. What he reportedly did was quieter. He shut off the comments on his social media account while the pile-on grew. Then, reportedly, the account came down. The best referee in the world, according to the people who hand out that title, gone from public view in the middle of the biggest tournament of his life. Kalina warned about threats against officials and their families. He was not making that up. Something real happened to a man this week, and much of it had nothing to do with football. And here is the detail that turns this review into something worse than a whitewash. FIFA has a long habit of not picking referees from countries still alive in the tournament. It is not written down anywhere. It is just the way FIFA does things, and it exists so that nobody can ask the question Egypt is asking now. On Thursday, France beat Morocco 2-0 in Boston and walked into the semifinals. They have won every match they have played at this tournament. François Letexier is French. And there is something buried in that match in Boston that almost nobody noticed. For France against Morocco, FIFA picked 5 match officials, and every one of them came from the same country. That country was Argentina. Egypt is told that where a referee comes from raises no questions. 2 days later, a full Argentinian crew ran a quarter-final, and Argentina were the team accused of being helped by a French one. Nobody has to allege anything. It only has to keep looking like this. A French referee is not being handed a semi-final or a final while France are still alive, so Letexier vanishes from this tournament either way, and FIFA never writes a single line about why. Egypt demanded a verdict. FIFA gets to hand them a shrug. If Letexier's name never turns up on another team sheet, Egypt can call it justice. FIFA can call it normal. Both answers hold up. Neither can be checked by anybody outside that building. Egypt filed the most serious complaint of this World Cup, and the system has already arranged for it to never need an answer. That is not a governing body being cleared. That is one that never has to stand trial. Think what the other road would cost them. If FIFA openly threw out a referee because a defeated country demanded it, then every defeated country from now until the end of time files the same paperwork. Every knockout exit turns into a court case. The rule book that says a country cannot veto a referee exists precisely to stop that, and FIFA is never giving it up. Which means Egypt was always going to lose this. Not because they were wrong, because the process was never built to let them win. There is one more thing in the file. Somewhere inside FIFA, someone wrote a rule that lets a goal be wiped out for a shirt pull at the far end of the pitch, 20 seconds before the ball crossed the line, with no limit on distance and no limit on time. Nobody in Atlanta had to break that rule. They only had to use it. And it took a goal off a country that had waited its entire footballing history for that moment. That is the part Egypt cannot appeal. Not the referee, the rule. As of today, FIFA has confirmed only that it got a complaint from the Egyptian Football Association. The reported review of François Letexier has never been spelled out in public by FIFA itself. He has not been suspended, and he has not been cleared. FIFA has not named him for another match. France are in the semi-finals, and the quarterfinals are being played without him. Egypt fly home. If this is the kind of story you want covered properly, with the paperwork read and the reporting separated from the noise, subscribe. There is more of this tournament left, and the file is still open.